Hi everyone, it's Denise. Welcome back to Dobby Books on this very hot Sunday in Southern California. I'm hibernating in the house. I've got the shades almost completely drawn and the AC running just to keep it cool for me and all the pets here. And what I'm going to do right now, I think, is go over some of the, references part 2. So why don't we do that and we'll get right to it. The first one I'm going to show you is a biblical reference, a Catholic source. It's entitled Dictionary of the Bible by John L. Mackenzie, S.J. S.J. standing for the fact that the author is a Jesuit priest. And this covers both Old and New Testaments, characters of the Bible, geography, charts and illustrations, major themes and concepts. This one I've had, I think, since 2007. Earliest would be 2007 that I got this for a thing I was working my way through. I wanted to try to get some illustrations here. Arranged very much like a dictionary. Of course, this is talking about the epistles of John. And it goes into this section and this section and this section for those who want, more information as far as historical and meanings of words and cultural realities of the time that would explain more, provide more context on a particular passage or topic. And it does have some images provided throughout. This one in particular is a Hittite god, Teshub. And I haven't used this much since I was using it for this course that I was taking so many years ago. But it's a good reference. I've held on to it. And the next one I have is a Protestant Bible dictionary. This one is the Eerdman's Bible Dictionary. It is not Eerdman's or Eerdman, Bart Eerdman. It has nothing to do with him. It's Eerdman's with a D. And this one is edited by Alan C. Myers. The publisher of this one is William B. Eerdman's Publishing Company. And this was published. The one that I have right here is a 1993 edition. And very much like the last one, you go by topics and themes. It provides you historical context, cultural context, meanings of words. So, for example, Assyria talks about what it is, some history, and its religion, its legacy, and then it has a short bibliography listed at the end on that. So again, this is very much like the original one that I showed you, set up like a dictionary, 2 columns. And as far as the thickness goes, this is the hardbound, this is a softbound, but they're about the same thickness. Here's the Catholic reference, here's the Protestant reference. I've had these a while too. And the next one I've got is a comparative grammar of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and French, the Romance languages. And there was a word in here that I wanted to share with you. You know how some of those words are very similar. All right, so let's do the verbs demonstrating permission or refusal of permission, for example. And it gives you this little chart which compares all of them. So your first column is Spanish, then we have Portuguese, Italian, French, and then English at the very end. So the word we're looking at is to permit, and how it is said in each one of the different languages. In Spanish, permitir que. Portuguese, permitir que. Italian, permettere che. And French, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, permettre que. So you see those similarities in some of these. There's one that I saw here and I thought, oh, great, I'm going to share this, and I can't find it. All right, let's go to the table of contents that'll give you a little more information. It covers the alphabet for each one of those languages. and pronunciations, names, diphthongs, diacritics, and digraphs under that. And then it goes into noun, gender, plural forms, etc. Then it covers adjectives, their gender, their plural forms, and any peculiarities. Then we go into adverbs, again, the same format. Their use, peculiarities of, here it goes, irregular ones, comparisons of adjectives and adverbs. Articles, goodness, where's the next? Oh, there we go. Verbs, the one that we were on. The verbs is long. Verbs is super long. Super duper long. Numbers, times, and dates, and I believe that's the last. Interjections are the last ones. The reason that I got this is because at the time I was studying a lot of Spanish at the university, and I wanted, and I also, because I've learned some Italian, I've learned more Italian than I have learned French. And of course, I know a lot more, in comparison to those two, I know a lot more Spanish. So it interests me to see what the similarities are, because in my mind, I'm thinking it gives me that much less that I would have to learn. The one language that I think for me provides the most difference than all of these mentioned is the French, not just in pronunciation, because the other three, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, to my mind, are very similar in pronunciation. It's the accents, which syllable needs to be accented, that can be a difference, which is minor. But with French, there are groups of letters that are simply not pronounced, or they're pronounced in a way that doesn't look like how they're written. So that's what provides the difficulty for me. And I think the reason I like to see them all next to each other like this is because that might help me to make connections that would be, it gives me a hook to hang the new information on. But I know, just being very visual, it can help me to understand better. I know what also helps when we're dealing with Romance languages and the learning of them is if you know some Latin. And you don't have to know a whole lot, but if you've studied any Latin, it's tremendously helpful. And I've had people say this over and over again who've learned Latin. It makes it tremendously more helpful to learn any one of the other Romance languages. And I believe that. I've heard some words in Latin that, let's say, perhaps I've never heard them said in that way in Spanish, but maybe they're said in a similar way in French, and it's that same Latin root. So Latin is something that I will continue to study. I did take 2 semesters of it when I was going to a community college, but use it or lose it, basically. But I find that when I'm reading some Latin and I'm going straight into it, my memory starts picking up, oh, wait, I remember this means such and such and such and such. So some of it has stayed with me. And I think what I'd like to do over this year that I have more time available is just go over my flashcards to just refresh my memory rather than going through the whole course again. And I think that will help me out with my French, because that's the one that I'm having a little more issues with. All right, no, on to the next one. My next one is a Penguin reference, and this is the Penguin Modern Classics book. It's different than the Orange Book, and it's different from the Penguin Classics, whatever, cover to cover. With this one, it focuses on the Penguin Modern Classics collection, which is broken up into categories of Europe, Asia, Africa, Australasia, and the Americas. And these are some older covers of the Penguin Modern Classics. These are covers from 1961. Let me show you these. And they look pretty different than what we see today. And I like to see that change over time. I'm going to go to, let's see. Let's start with Europe, the British Isles. Ooh, wait, before we do that, let me show you these. The other penguins. This is a section. There's penguin books, pelican books, penguin specials, penguin poets, puffin books, penguin classics, Penguin handbooks, Penguin plays, Peregrine books, Peacock books, Penguin science fiction, Penguin African library, Australian Penguin books, Penguin English library, oh gosh, Penguin American library, Penguin travel library, 20th century classics, King penguins, Penguin Arcana, deluxe classics, we know those, Great Ideas, cloth-bound classics, Central European classics, red classics, design classics, and that was the last one. So let me show you this. It starts with the Penguin books. It dates it as 1935. And then over here is a cover from 1937 from one of the Penguin special. And then the other two blue covers, the top one is a Pelican books, and the one below that is a Penguin Poets. So these smaller blue ones. The top is Penguin Poets. And on the next page are the other ones that I mentioned, and you can see the names on those. And these. And finally, this page. These are the different editions that I covered. And I think there's one more page. No, two more. It's really neat. You can see the cloth bound and the Great Ideas one. That one I'm familiar with. The deluxe classics, of course. And then over on this page, we have and finally these. Okay, so now it goes into the Penguin Modern Classics, and I'm going to pick the British Isles. And we have something as early as 1905 from E.M. Forster, Where Angels Fear to Tread. Then it moves to The Longest Journey, A Room with a View, collected short stories. Then it goes into Howard's End, A Passage to India, and it's showing you the original publication and then the more modernized ones. So let's do this. So this is on E.M. Forster. You see the original covers. And then the updated ones. And over on this side, and this is really neat. And it's going all the way through on this. We have Eastern Europe, and I like the cover, the opening page, Eastern Europe, and it's showing you the books, which is really neato. And what do we have here? Oh wow, Lenin. V.I. Lenin. Ooh, I wonder who that could be. Boris Pasternak, names I don't know. Ivan Bunin. Vladimir Nabokov, I've heard of him. Here's some more. And those are all the covers. Same author, different stories, you know, selected stories. And this is a lovely book. And let me show you the cover itself. You can see past the, you can see the cloth. Can you see the texture of the cloth in there? That's why I covered it in the Mylar, because the cloth, without having any sort of smooth surface over it, will pick up every stain, every drop of moisture. So with the Mylar cover, I'm hoping to keep it protected just a little bit better. It's this thick. And this is the back. Okay, and that is my Penguin Modern Classics book. Okay. The next one is big. This is another coffee table book, and this is the National Geographic Family Reference Atlas of the World. This is the second edition. It's humongo. To take this book off the shelf, I had to remove several other coffee table sized books so that I could take this one. It was like this. So I had to take it out and I had to turn it. I couldn't just take it straight out of the shelf. It's too tall. I had to turn it this way, lean it out, and then take it out of the shelf. That's how much room it takes up. This one I just love. And I'm sure there's a more modernized tradition, an updated edition, and this covers, of course, every part of the world. And I'm going to pick a map that we can look at. I want to get a really pretty one. Ooh, I like when it's the topographical, showing you some. I just love that. There was a course I was taking in college. There was a blend of science and environmental science and biology and all that stuff. And it was entitled The Beach. And we would get a lot of those sort of cut out topographical images. And I just loved it because it made the coastal environment so much more understandable for me. I'm looking at the US and I'm trying to find something. So here's one of the US, just the physical map of the US. And over here, I don't know if you can see it, it says Gulf of Mexico. And that's a, doesn't that look weird? It almost looks strange. But that's because we're so used to seeing sort of a cutoff American US map, because this one, of course, is including parts of Canada. But this has been just a wonderful. If I had a coffee table, this would definitely be there, because this is something that you can just enjoy flipping through and taking in information in a very relaxed, unpressured way. I love that. I love just getting lost in something that's beautiful to look at while I'm casually, I thinking, doing something else. So you've got that. Just a lovely book to look at when you're sitting at the coffee table or doing whatever. Just nice information, like, oh gosh, I didn't know that. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. Stuff like that is good to, I don't know, I think it's a good experience. Because then it's not necessarily in a formal setting. You're just at home, or you're in a friend or family member's home, and you're getting to look through something that's got your interest and has your attention, and it's a pleasure to read. Not assigned, no deadline, like that. I think that's one of the better opportunities for learning, because it's so relaxed and enjoyable. Then the last one I'm going to show you is not, I would say, an official reference. This is more of a homemade one. But I came upon these while looking through my other references. And these were cards, big flashcards I put together when I was taking my history of art course way back when I was in the community college. And what I had done is this is for early art. So we're talking about medieval art, for example. There was this. I had to be able to see the work of art and know the creator's name, the painter's name, or the sculptor's name, the year of the work. So here the title is Birth of the Virgin. Artist is Ghirlandaio. And the period was the Italian early Renaissance. So the period date would be 15th century, early Renaissance. And that's all written on the back here. So this was my way of trying to remember. Oh gosh. Here's another one. So this would be a sculpture. Now I look at them and I'm like, some I remember, not all. Hercules and Antaeus. Antaeus. The artist is Palaiulo. It's Italian. It's Italian early Renaissance, 15th century. So these became references for me because I would test myself, and these would be, of course, for those quarterly quizzes coming up. And then I got, let me see if I've got one from earlier. This is modern art. Look at this one. This is a sculpture that just keeps moving. This one is entitled, it's by Umberto Baccioni, and it's entitled Unique Forms of Continuity in Space, 1913. It's in bronze, and it's at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. That's a fascinating sculpture. It's movement, and it just, as you look at it, you could swear it's moving. Something's making it move, whether it's the wind or whatever, and it just has that effect that draws you into. I see almost like a liquid flow. It's just really cool. I have 4 stacks of these. So I have this stack, and the clip's over there. And I have this stack that I showed you, this stack that I showed you. I have this stack, and I separated them by color as well. And there was a purpose to that because of the genre. So there was Romanticism, Neoclassicism, Rococo, Baroque, and Italian Mannerism. So here's an example of Romanticism in architecture. This is the Opera House in Paris. The artist is Garnier. This is an example of Neoclassicism. Whew, if I can just get the card out of here. The title, Pauline Borghese as Venus. Artist is Canova. And you know what? I don't have the year written down on here. Shame on me. Here's an example of Rococo with a French taste. This is, I'll turn it on. We can look at it this way. The Apotheosis of the Pisani family. Artist is Tiepolo, if I pronounced that correctly. Here is an example of Baroque in Northern Europe. Et in Arcadia Ego, or Ego, by Poussin. And finally, here's an example of Italian Mannerism. And the title of this is Venus, Cupid, Folly, and Time. The artist is Bronzino. So these were artworks that I had to, of course, know for each one of my quarterly exams that came up, and I have 4 stacks. And I still have them right now. I don't want to throw them out, number one, because I had to photocopy all those pages and then cut them and then glue them. And it was too much work for me to just toss it out because the class is over. And these are 2 that I put back to back. And why was that? I don't know. But I have this side, the tennis court oath. This is a French artist. School of Jacques-Louis David, 1792. And it is on June 17th, 1789, the Third Estate, dramatically declaring itself the National Assembly, took an oath to create a constitution for France. So that's why the tennis court oath. And on the other side, I did not write any information, but I know this is a Northern European painter. Some of you will know it by sight, but I unfortunately did not write anything on the back. But these were a lot of work, and I'm kind of proud of all the work that I did to get these all done, and I'm saving them because I know they're going to come in handy again. I know I plan to go to Europe again, and if we see some museums, or depending on the area of Europe that we visit, I want to refresh my memory, and this is a really quick way to do it. So There we go, people. Reference what? Reference number 2. So if there's more you want to see, I'll try to put some more together for you, and we'll see what else I've got. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. I'll see you in just a few days. Bye.